Even though I was very careful to scrape out the excess mortar between the tiles when I was laying them, I did miss a few patches, so I'm using a knife to get them now, and I've got the Scotch-Brite pad to clean anything that happens to be on the surface. But not too bad overall. Yesterday I grouted the tiles underneath where the fridge and the stove go so I could move those back in, and now I've got the rest of the floor wide open to do. Well, I went over the entire floor and I think I have everything, but while I'm vacuuming, I'm also keeping an eye out for any places that I missed. Alright, I'm happy with how clean the floor is, and I've mixed up my grout about 5 minutes ago. This grout, you have to mix it up and then let it sit for about 5 minutes and then mix it up again before you use it. I mix it up in a very clean bucket. That's one thing you want to make sure when you're doing grout. Everything is very clean and not contaminated with anything else. Another thing about the grout is that you want to mix it up so that it is as dry as you possibly can make it and still work it into the joints properly. The drier the mix is, the stronger the grout will be ultimately. That's the key. One of the things about concrete, you know, the wetter it is, the weaker it'll be. So the same thing applies to grout. Start here in this area right here, and I'm going to work across the room. What I'll do is I'll do a patch about 1 meter square, and then I'll move to the next one. By the time I get that one done, I can come back and I can use the sponge to remove the excess on this patch. Then I'll move to the next patch and I'll remove the excess on the next patch, and so on and so forth. It's kind of a system where you work across the room and you're cleaning as you go. Sometimes it doesn't matter how careful you are, you're still going to miss something. Okay, I'm ready to start cleaning. I've got my sponge here. I've wrung out as much water as I can from it. It's not dry, but it's just damp. And I'm gonna go over the grout joints in a circular pattern, not pushing too hard, just trying to even everything up and remove a lot of the excess from the surface. I just did the second cleaning on that. I'm ready to do the second cleaning on this one. It's just to take the clean sponge and go back and forth diagonally, removing as much of the haze as I can. The key is not to use too much water here. It'll wash the cement out of the surface of the grout and it'll become really sandy and the color won't stay true. Well, I used up that first batch of grout and I got about half the room done. Coming back and cleaning the areas that needed it again. As you can see, the grout is dried to a haze here. Took about an hour. At this point, I can be a lot more aggressive with it. Although my sponge is still not any wetter, it's still just damp. But I'm rubbing harder to get rid of the haze on the tile. And also there are occasional patches where little bits of grout are stuck, and I want to rub those off too. At this point, the grout in the joints is pretty firm and you really can't hurt it too much. So, like I say, I can be a lot more aggressive. Well, it is a few days later. I got all the grouting done. It took 2 days actually. And what I'm doing right now is I'm sealing the grout. What I'm using is boiled linseed oil that's been thinned down with paint thinner, and that lets it flow right into the grout seams, and it actually darkens up the grout a little bit. I picked a lighter color than I ultimately wanted for this floor for that reason, because I knew I was going to seal it with this. To get it right into the seams, I've got a bottle here that had chalk in it before. I poked a very small hole in the tip, and I can squeeze it right into the joint. What I do is I let it sit for a couple of minutes, and then I wipe it up, or I wipe off the excess with a paper towel. Okay, well, I've got it all done, and now I've got an old t-shirt here that I'm wiping off any residue that happens to be on the surface of the tiles. I'm going to do this again tomorrow, give it another coat, and then I figure it should be good for about a year before I'll have to do it again.